Hello, we're live again. Welcome to Connecting Live on Fight Connect TV. I am just about to be joined by professional boxer George Davey. Just waiting for him to connect. Twice in one night, Sundays and Mondays. Don't stop working. Just waiting for him to connect, so he should be with us in a moment. Don't forget, if you've got any questions for George, you can, and we'll ask them at the end of the interview. If they're good. If they're too good, I won't ask them because they'll be better than mine. Hi!
Hi Lydia, you all right?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
What's going on?
Not much, just finished the gym and just having a bit of downtime now.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for coming on.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Not at all. I was very excited. Thank you very much to Dean Sheriff, Empire Pro Tape, for arranging this.
Of course, big shout out to Dean.
He's doing my job for me.
Brilliant.
So what's going on is I'm delighted to get you on. Obviously, any of the guys who are pro, signed to Frank Warren, signed to Eddie Hearn, it's always good to get them on because obviously we've got a lot of younger fighters, a lot of amateur guys that take a lot of inspiration from where you guys are.
Yeah. No, it's good, obviously, to get on these, get me out there as well. So, no, I'm very happy to be on here. Thanks for having me.
Not at all, not at all. So let's chat about your own career and how you got into this brilliant position. Because I know you've very interesting backgrounds.
Yeah, unique, definitely.
Yes. Talk to me about Lanzarote.
Yeah, so I think I was 2 months old. My parents decided to move to Lanzarote. Obviously, I didn't have a choice in that decision, so tagged along. I started boxing when I was 16, and no, sorry, 14 actually. But you couldn't go anywhere. You end up boxing the same people. So my dad said to me, "Right, you have to make the ultimate sacrifice, and if you want to be a good boxer and make it, you have to move to England." So I was like, "Right." So yeah, at the age of 16 still, turning 17, I moved to York and found Henry Wharton's gym. Brilliant trainer. Been in with the best as Henry, and yeah, we've clicked, and he's given me 50 amateur fights, and he recommended me to Frank. Frank signed me, and now I'm a 2-0 as a professional. That's my story.
Before there's a lot in that. You're like listing it off, but there's so much in that. Like
In a nutshell, yeah, basically.
that's in a nutshell. Let's break it down. Obviously, being that young and getting that sort of, I suppose, ultimatum off your dad to be like, if you want to make it, you've got to go back to the UK. Like, how
Yeah.
was that? What was the decision quick, or was it something that you had to take a bit of time to
No,
think about?
it was a very big decision. Basically it was the ultimate sacrifice, leave my family and friends to try and make it in boxing. So I've had that self belief, and I thought let's give it a go. But yeah, it took a lot to do. Definitely, it took months and months of discussing, and yeah, but I'm really happy I've done it because it's led me to where I am now. If I was over there, I'd probably just be a beach bum, just pretty much on the beach every day. Not a bad one.
Well, it's so strange that I'm chatting to you tonight and you have that history about Lanzarote, because last night I had a coach called Jonathan O'Brien on who
John
runs
O'Brien, yeah.
champion
Yeah,
boxing in Lanzarote, and he's obviously got April Hunter, Joe Laws, Paddy
yeah,
Donovan, Paul McCullough, all these, Francie Lahazo, I think his surname is, but all these guys over there now training with him and doing camps, and his big thing was he wants to put Lanzarote on the map, and there's this fantastic opportunity for people to do camps, and you've got the sun and the weather
yeah.
and everything out there. So it's really cool for you to have that like Lanzarote connection. It's cool
Yeah, of
to
course.
have it.
No, he's good as John. I like him. He's a good trainer, and I think his lads will go a long way with
Mm-hmm.
him. But yeah, obviously Lanzarote is a brilliant place to train. So why not go to the Champions Gym?
I, for one, would enjoy if boxing went to Lanzarote and there was a lot of shows there.
It's the holiday/training camp.
Yeah, I'm like, anytime someone's like, would you come do some interviews in our gym? I'm like, what's the location? Is there sun? If there's sun, I don't care. I'm like, I'm there.
Have to be some, definitely.
But listen, obviously, like Henry Wharton, like without even what he's done for you, I mean, his heritage in boxing is like I remember like being so young, like kind of stories of hearing about him fighting Nigel Benn,
Right.
Chris Eubank, all these big fights that now when I look back, I kind of look at them like with really fond memories, and it's kind of a little bit of jealousy that I wasn't around to experience boxing when it was
Yeah.
the day of Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank and people like Henry. So what was that like, getting the opportunity to work with him?
To be fair, I was a bit nervous because he was, Henry's a legend in the sport. Wherever you
Yeah.
go with him, people ask for his autograph or a picture with him. So just getting to meet him was a big thing. And I met him and we got along really well. And I just knew that that was the place for me. And we click. Like on the pads, we've got a really good rhythm together. You know, you either have it or you don't with your fighter. I think personally, in my opinion,
Yeah.
but we just clicked and we get along like one big giant happy family in that ring.
I always try, because it's something that, I mean, obviously the coach is such a huge element in terms of the fighter, fight camp, strategy, how the fighter develops. And I
Absolutely.
always love hearing about fighters and why they decided to work with certain people, why they decided to stop working with certain people, and what is it. I think a lot of boxing fans look at it quite technically, where they kind of go, oh, it's that person has that kind of style, that person does this way. But really, it's down to that connection. You need to have this good, strong bond with your coach in order for you to prosper, I suppose.
Yeah, well, you need to obviously be friends in a certain
Hmm.
respect. You need to get along, have that connection. Then obviously you need to like how they teach you. Because with Henry, he doesn't want to change your style. He wants you to have your style, but obviously correct certain positions and
Yeah.
wants you to box properly, basically. And no, everyone that goes to the gym just loves him. He's such a top bloke. Honestly, I couldn't ask for a better coach, to be honest.
I imagine so. And I was watching some of your interviews once I knew you were coming on, and a lot of Henry's in a lot of the interviews, that like obviously the Queensbury stuff and the Frank Warren stuff. And one thing that was very apparent is that he spoke so highly of you, and these are like, interviews around your pro debut. And what is that like? Because someone like Henry is not going to back you. He's not going to put his name or his kind of, legacy, I suppose, on the
Yeah,
line for, backing someone that he doesn't truly believe in.
there's definitely a bit of pressure putting all that on me. No, obviously, he believes in me, or he wouldn't train me, wouldn't have recommended me. Obviously, sometimes I think as a person you have little negative doubts, but Henry speaking so highly of you, it puts that that positivity back in yourself, and him speaking like that of me just makes me believe in myself even more. Definitely.
Can you remember your first fight? Amateur?
My first amateur fight, yes, it was actually in Henry's gym. Second round stoppage, I believe.
Amazing.
That's where the journey started.
So can you remember the feeling?
Well, sorry, I did have 4 fights in Spain in Lanzarote.
Okay.
Believe it or not, but then we kind of wiped those clean because that wasn't registered with England. And then we started fresh in England with Henry, and yeah, the feeling was a bit daunting. I thought, right, I've come over to England, I've got Henry there as well. I really need to make a statement. So I went in there and I just went guns blazing, and I stopped him in the second round. It was a really good feeling, amazing.
How old were you? Would you have been then?
I think just turning 17.
Because it's still quite young, right?
Yeah, not at the time. At the time, you feel like an adult, but now that you look back, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
years ago, yeah, you just a baby in the sport.
Yeah, totally. And I'm always fascinated as well about, to fight full stop, no matter whether it's white collar or whether it's amateur or it's professional. Like, it takes a certain person, and you have to be a certain type of person to have the ability to be able to do it, win or lose, just to get in there, right? Is like the biggest step that you have to take. Um,
Definitely.
what do you think it was? What is it for you? Because from doing interviews and from speaking to so many different fighters in all different fight sports, for me, and I could be wrong, but it's sort of broken down into two types of person: the person who loves to fight, and then the person who loves the competitiveness of it.
Yeah.
Where do you think you would sit amongst that?
I'd say maybe in between. Obviously, I love to fight. I definitely love to fight, and then obviously you want that strive to win. You
Hmm.
want to be the best. And I think that one takes over the other one
Yeah.
more so. especially if you want to make it in boxing, you need to have that strive to win, you know. And then obviously, you know, you want to be able to like a bit of a fight when it gets tough.
Would you be naturally competitive?
I'd say so. I'd say so. I think my girlfriend Emily, I think she would agree with that as well.
I did an interview last night with an Irish boxer who's actually fighting in Spain on Friday. Victor Rebay is his name, but
Okay.
we were talking about the competitive elements and, you know, what it takes to be an elite athlete, and that, you know, in their everyday life, they're probably really, you know, unbearable to be around because they're so competitive and they've got
Definitely.
such a high, you know, a high kind of bar that they have for themselves. And he was like, I can't even have a game of like rock, paper, scissors. I have to win. He's like, if you're walking down the street next to me and you say, I'll race you to the end of that pole, I have to win. You know,
That's the disease. We were playing. We just got the table tennis table in the gym, and we started playing today, me and my friend, and all of a sudden it turned into a massive competition. me and my other stablemate Rob McGill, it got really serious really quickly. I'd say two of the most competitive people I know is Henry, unbelievably competitive, and Dean. Dean Sheriff is the most competitive person I know in the whole wide world.
Yeah, it's good. You have to have it, right? You have to have it.
You need to have it, yeah, and it pushes you in the gym, definitely.
For sure. Well, there's always a very interesting dynamic in gyms, I find, you know, because obviously teammates are hugely important and the dynamic that's in the gym is so important. But also, if you sit in on training sessions, especially around fight camp or when people are kind of, the sessions are pretty heavy, and you see how each teammate can push the other and how there is that element of competition, a healthy competition.
Yeah, you need teammates in there that can help you push yourselves, that can help push each other, definitely. You also want to have teammates, you know, you get along with and you can have a laugh, and it's not like a boring day in the gym. You want to go in there, get to business, but also at the same time enjoy what you're doing and have a laugh. You know, so you need a mixture of combination of all of that, I think.
Would you be someone that, you know, life is pretty much boxing? There's no outside that.
I'd say my life is pretty much boxing. I mean, I enjoy doing, you know, activities like surfing whenever I can. I mean, it's pretty hard to surf in York.
Yeah, not much
But,
waves, I imagine.
well, whenever I go to Lanzarote, obviously I'll try to do it. But in when I'm in England, which is
Yeah.
90% of the time, it is boxing.
So surfing, is that something that you've done since you were a kid, or is it just kind of a hobby?
No, I've done it all my life. All my life.
No way.
My brother, he was really good surfer. He was sponsored by Quicksilver,
Very
and
cool.
so going surfing with him was a privilege as well, I'd say. Yeah, surfing, it's been a big part of my life, and that's something I want to do when I retire in boxing, just live on a beach and surf every day.
I tell you what, I never surfed up until last year, and I always had like grand illusions of, because I do jiu-jitsu, and
Okay.
there is a misconception. Now I know it's a misconception because I've been surfing, that people who do jiu-jitsu are usually very good at surfing. A lot of the
They,
Brazilians that do
yeah,
jiu-jitsu would be
that's
very
right.
good surfers. So I went to the west of Ireland for a week for a holiday, and we went to go surfing, and it was an absolute disaster. I couldn't even do pop-ups. I couldn't do pop-ups. I couldn't
It's a
even
good
do a
wage though
pop-up
as
on the
well.
beach. That's how bad it was. But it's incredible. I tweeted about, this is so weird that we're talking about surfing, because I actually tweeted a video today. It's a German surfer called Sebastian Gerhard, I think his name is. But he is competing somewhere in the world, but he just surfed 126-foot wave and was able
Okay.
to do this incredible like thing in the wave. And it was just, it's amazing when you watch surfers, like pro surfers surf, like how they can have that much control in the
It
water.
takes
And
it takes a lot to surf something that big. Definitely, you need to, you know, relax your mind. You need to have a good set of lung capacity.
yeah,
But it's also very good for boxing. It's good for your balance. It's good for your back muscles. It's also, yeah, like I said, good for your lungs. And there's nothing more medicinal than being in the ocean.
absolutely, absolutely. Water is healing, as they say. And
exactly.
sea swimming has taken this like massive turn where everyone seems to be, I don't know what it's like in the UK, but in Ireland, especially since lockdown, everyone is going sea swimming. You know, there was a time where people were like, I'm not going to swim in the sea. I'll wait till I go on holidays. But now everyone is just embracing the cold weather and getting in anyway.
It's good for you as well as the cold water. It's anti-inflammatory, so I'd actually recommend going going for a swim in the cold water.
Wim Hof breathing all the way, right?
Exactly.
Anyway, enough about surfing. People will be tuning in. They'll be like, what is she talking about? Talking about
This is a boxing
surfing.
show, not surfing.
But when you were growing up, obviously, other than surfing, would you have been someone that would have been in lots of sport? Would you have been a very active person?
If it wasn't for boxing, I'd say growing up, I was, to be honest, a bit of a nerd. I like to game, do a bit of PlayStation here and there, watch TV, watch a few movies. But then I was also quite adventurous because we live right on the beach in Lanzarote. Well, my parents do, and there's huge cliffs, mountains. So I would do a lot of rock climbing, and I would pretty much spend 80% of my time on the beach as well.
Good. I'm very jealous. I'm
It
sure.
was
I'm sure
it was a
your
good
beaches and
upbringing,
our beaches are different.
just a little bit.
But then let's go back to boxing because obviously you're in the UK, you're getting settled, you're working with Henry. At what stage can you remember kind of, I suppose, taking it seriously or wanting to be more focused within boxing?
As soon as I left Lanzarote, because obviously I left Lanzarote for that specific reason, was to be a world champion boxer. I had that
Hmm.
since I was 14 years old, and it just obviously got more serious because I've gone up in stages in boxing, gone from obviously novice to elite, and it's just got more serious. I've enjoyed every bit of it. There's been the ups and downs,
Yeah,
obviously. You know, maybe fights you should have won, robberies, and it's very disheartening. But
yeah.
I've always been 100% focused and dedicated to boxing.
I mean, it's interesting to hear you talk about it because a lot of fighters do talk about, we'll say, the business side of boxing, maybe the politics of boxing,
Yeah.
the different things that go into it. It seems like it's unavoidable. It happens. How do you deal with when something like that happens and you have to stay focused, you have to contain that passion that you have for boxing, but you have to just let that stuff, I imagine, just go to the back of your mind.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. You have to obviously you have to think about other things as well. But as long as you've got a good set of people around you, they can
Yeah.
help take that stress away from you. So obviously a big thing in boxing obviously is ticket selling. That's really stressful for a lot of fighters. So
Yes.
maybe you can have some friends help you out there, sell some tickets for you. But you just need good people around you. My opinion personally, and then it makes life that little bit easier.
How frustrating is it when you're, a boxer, professional fighter, and the element of ticket sales? It's such a huge part. And especially in boxing, when you have, obviously, you have to factor in paying for your opponent, all this
Yeah.
kind of the different stuff that goes into it, and the kind of way that the money, I suppose, is dealt out. There's so many guys that I meet that are at the end of their amateur careers and they will be incredible professional fighters, but they just can't sell tickets. So they're not going to turn pro and they don't get the opportunities that maybe others do.
It's very frustrating for a lot of people, definitely. But because some people, yeah, like you've said, they've been really good professionals, but they just haven't had that lucky break.
Yeah.
So it is very frustrating. Obviously, you just got to keep going, keep winning, and then your time will come eventually.
Hmm. Would you change anything about the professional end of the sport now that you've been in it for a little bit? Obviously, you're still at the very start of your career and you've a long way to go, but from what you know now, would you change anything?
No, I mean I'm happy with the way I'm going and everything around me is going. I'm happy. I wouldn't change a single thing.
Good. Good to hear.
I mean, there probably is. If I had a really good think about it, there probably would be specific things. But
Yeah.
at this moment in time, I'm happy on my journey.
We'll come back. I'm sure I'll be interviewing you a lot more over the years, so we'll keep an update on that.
Yeah, come back 6 months later. I'll have a list of bad things.
So let's talk about obviously signing with Frank Warren, because as I said at the start of the interview, that is, I think, really Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. They're the two big names in boxing in the UK, right?
Absolutely, yeah. No, they're the biggest names. They're the two names you want to go with,
Yeah.
and yeah, no, obviously signing with Frank was an absolute honour and a privilege. I'd
Talk
just
to
like
me.
to thank
Talk to me
him.
about that. Where were you when you found out?
Right,
And
so I just
who did you
won.
call straight away?
So I just won Haringey, the Haringey Box Cup for the second time. It was my 50th. I did 3 fights in 3 days. Obviously, won the first, won the second, and I was in the final. I stopped the kid in, I think, round 2. I dropped him in the first round and stopped him in the second. Awesome way to finish the amateur season. That was my 50th fight, and then a week later, I went back to work, just normal day working, and Henry rang me and said, "You've got a meeting with Frank Warren." I was very shocked. So I just said, absolutely. When, where, what time? Just asking him all these questions. And he said, right, it's next Wednesday. We go down to London and we've got to be there for, I think, I don't know, 1 o'clock or something. So, and it was 4-hour drive, and that was it. That was just amazing. And so anyways, all that week I'm trying to think what I should wear. So I go shopping with Emily, my girlfriend, and just get these really nice suits. I spent a bit of money just to try and look good. I went into Frank Warren's office and I saw Frank Warren and I was absolutely starstruck because ever since a little kid I've wanted to sign with Frank Warren.
Yeah.
For me, he's the biggest name because he's been around for years and he's signed the best boxers, Prince Naseem, and everyone else. So anyway, Frank asked me a question. I think I stuttered the first time I spoke to him. Can't remember what he asked me. I was just like in awe of him. But yeah, ever since then, it's gone uphill, and an absolute honor to fight for him.
I love hearing about the stories. I get I interview guys that have been signed by people like Frank Eddie for years, and I'm like, what was it like when you met? What's it like when you meet him now? Well, what's it like when he's on the phone? And they're like, oh, it's just Frank or whatever. I'm like, no, it's not. It's actually Frank Warren. Like, because again,
I don't know how they
I
can say that.
remember seeing him being on TV. Whip Prince Naseem was such an inspiration for me before I even knew I liked boxing. I just remember seeing Prince Naz on TV and just seeing the leopard print, seeing him like flipping into the ring, and just being like a child and being captivated, not knowing what exactly I was watching, but just being captivated by him. So now when I look back, to see all the memories, especially like Frank being ringside with him, like doing a post-fight interview, it's just so special.
I don't know how people can say it's just Frank. I mean, I feel like a little kid. I feel like he's a bit of a hero, So I don't know how people can say that. To be honest, he's an absolute legend in the sport.
So obviously, making your pro debut, like, no big deal on Josh Warrington's undercard. Like,
no big deal.
No big deal. Like, whatever about, okay, pro debut, Frank Warren, it's going to be on TV, but then you hear it's going to be on Josh Warrington's undercard. How was that?
Well, he told me at the office when I was signing my contract. Amazing. I was like, I'm not even a professional yet. I haven't even had my medicals, got my license. And he said, you're on Josh Warrington's undercard. I'm like, what? Anyway, that happened. I'm selling tickets. I ended up selling 500 tickets for my first fight, which was unbelievable. And then they moved me up to third to last on the bill. So I was on TV and wow, just everything changed. I was like, right, I got to put on a show now, even more so. And I remember walking out to it and all my 500 friends, family, fans, whatever, were on the left-hand side, and just the noise was unbelievable. It was I'd say it was a bit daunting, obviously, that experience for your first fight, but also a very incredible experience.
In terms of then your performance, did you feel different in there? Like, is it true that the energy, that the environment, the energy of the crowd, being in those big arenas, does it have a factor in how you perform on the night?
Definitely. For me, I think, I've really warmed into it. My second fight, I thought personally I performed better just because from that big show, my nerves are a lot more at ease now because nothing tops off that show for your first fight. But everything, because you walk in, the crowd, the energy is just unbelievable, and you don't want to disappoint, obviously. Also, I didn't want to get too carried away because I can easily get carried away in there. Henry said, just box, Mark, because if you get carried away, you're going to make mistakes. So just played it cool, boxed well, boxed to orders, got the win, and onwards we go. So, basically, yeah.
So when did it hit you? Like, when did you get to have that moment of, I can't believe I've just done that and look what's happened?
I'm still in shock. No, actually, we're in the changing room, and I had an interview with Danny Laney. She works for Dean as well. She does fights, camera
Yeah.
action. It was just starting to sink in a bit then, and I was just like, I can't believe I've just done that. And I felt on top of the world. It was best experience any amateur could ever have for their first fight.
Did it fill you with, as I suppose, a new kind of hunger for what could be, what could come?
Absolutely opened new doors in me. Like I felt like I don't know how to describe it. It lit a new fire basically.
Yeah.
I thought, right, this is what I want to do even more. So I was already focused. I already wanted to do that as a profession, but I thought, right, this is me now. I want this even more than ever.
Is
And
there
it's just, oh, sorry.
is there a little bit of because like when you get to that stage and you get to being on TV, you get the big promoter, you get the backing, you get the opportunities coming to you. Is it a little bit like the hard work starts now, even though you've been working so hard for so many years to get to that position? Do you kind of have to sort of go up a level, and it's sort of like a video game where you get to level 2 and now you
Yeah.
have to try and get to level 3?
I mean, obviously, I've always worked hard, and this is what I wanted to do. So as soon as you have to work harder, that's what excites me. That's what I want to do. But yeah, basically, the hard work starts now.
Mm-hmm.
Then you also don't want to work too hard all the time because obviously you burn yourself out.
Yeah.
But it's training smart basically, and luckily I've got Henry and a great team of people around me to guide me through that.
So what is training smart for you at the moment? What is your week like?
What through fight camp or normal day to day?
Well, let's do both. Like what are you at now, and then how do you amp things up for fight camp? How does it change?
So we're out fight camp obviously. Normal day to day is either go to work, labouring. So I do roofing, which is basically training as well. I'll do
Yeah, it
that.
is.
Not easy.
Definitely nice.
Um,
I love hearing that you're working. I mean, obviously it would be great if you didn't have to work, but I love that you are working as well and you're also sidelining this career.
But I'm
True
quite fortunate,
craft.
to be honest. My sponsors help me out enough so I don't have to work, but I enjoy working.
Yeah.
So I'd much rather work because it clears your mind. Like I said, it's good exercise and it's something to do because boxing sometimes is you box and then there's nothing to do. You're bored and then you're waiting for the next session. So
Yeah.
work distracts you from that. So on a daily basis, either go to work. I'd either go to training or do work, one or the other, and then train on a night again. That's basically my life. And now in the fight camp, it's basically train and then train again. Nothing changes that much apart from work.
Doesn't. So next date, next fight.
Next fight, yeah, it's 26th of September. I think 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. How are we
Ready
feeling?
for action. Feeling good, feeling really confident, feeling strong. This camp's gone really well. I'm really looking forward to it. Live on BT Sports.
Get the plug in. Come on.
Hopefully everyone tunes in.
But obviously, like, we're in kind of weird times at the moment. We have the banned word that I'm not using on this show anymore because I wanted to go away. But obviously, we've just come out of lockdown and we're seeing a different side of boxing now. Obviously, the biggest element or the most important element is missing, which is the fans and the audience. So there's been, all this talk. Obviously, when we had Fight Camp, we had Frank's shows that started. We've had Hennessy Sports at the weekend. Obviously, ESPN, Top Rank were doing their other shows with no audience. For you, when you found out that you would have an opportunity to fight and it would be without an audience, how did that feel, or what was your response to that?
Quite excited, to be honest.
It's different, right?
Of course, I'm one of the very few boxers that has the honor to box in the Corona pandemic. So
Yeah.
For me personally, it's an honor, and obviously there's no fans there, which is very disappointing because obviously, like we said earlier, having fans there it brings that energy.
Mm-hmm.
But you're on TV. There's probably more people watching on TV, so
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, it's just another day. It's you just got to go in and do business. You can't really think about who's there, who's watching, any of that. So basically.
I mean, obviously, I would prefer to be able to be there, as with anyone, but it brings a really exciting element in that it's almost like gladiator-ish or something. I don't know. It's kind of like it's so raw or something. You know what I mean? There's no crowd, there's no audience. It's just get in, get the job done, and get out.
And go home.
And go home. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I don't know what to expect because it's new, obviously. But I'm very excited for it. I can't wait.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, listen, while we were talking, everyone has an opportunity to ask you some questions. So I'm going to just check the question box just to see what they're asking. There is a question in here from the Eindhoven Box Cup, and they've asked George about his Eindhoven Box Cup gold medal.
Good times, actually. In 2018, I believe, I boxed in the Olympic qualifying event, the Eindhoven Box Cup. Unbelievable boxing tournament. One of the best, to be fair. Went over there with Henry and our team, which is usually an absolutely amazing time. You have such a good laugh with all your boxing friends.
Of course.
So yeah, I was meant to box on the Friday, but the lad didn't show up. So I ended up boxing on the Saturday against this German guy. I beat him. Good performance, actually. I don't even think he landed one shot on me, to be fair. And his coach came up to me after and he was like, "Oh, that was amazing. Will you marry my daughter?"
What?
That's a bit odd, isn't it? But I was like, I'll take that as a compliment, obviously.
I can get behind. That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. What did you say? What did you say?
Is she good looking?
That's exactly what I would ask. Is she good looking and does she have money?
Exactly. Has she got money? That's the biggest question to ask.
Brilliant. That's really good.
So yeah, then we boxed on the Sunday in the finals versus the Dutch number one. And I remember first round, I was winning, but he didn't drop me. I slipped. It wasn't but the ref jumped in, and obviously that round went through. And I thought, bloody hell. So Henry said, "Right, you're in his home country here. Probably referees on his side and the judges, whatnot. You have to really step up." So I just went guns blazing at him, and I took the fight to him and absolutely smashed it. And he did break my jaw. To be fair, though.
Actually, did break it.
He broke my jaw.
Oh.
We worked it though. I got the gold medal. I remember we went to the changing room afterwards, and Henry gave me some food. He gave me a cookie, actually. I think it was a chocolate chip cookie. He said, "Hey, you deserve this." I bit into it, and it was the most excruciating feeling. And I said, "Henry, something's wrong with my jaw here." He said, "You better get it checked out." No one believed me. Everyone just thought I was, just being a bit of a diva, probably. So I was in Eindhoven for the next 48 hours with a broken jaw, and then had to obviously flew to the UK the 48 hours later. They kept me in the hospital that night. No, sorry, I was in hospital for a good 8 hours before the doctors came to me. They said, "Right, you're going to need to get surgery done, and you're going to need to stay in the hospital." I was like, "Yeah, fine, whatever." I was in bed. I woke up the next day, and they said, "You can go home. We're not going to do a surgery on you." In the end,
no. So you didn't have to get surgery in the end.
No, they just said we're going to let it heal on its own.
Oh God.
I'm thinking of the positives, though. It's grown back stronger than ever as my jaw, and I think it's unbreakable now.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But positive. I think whatever about your arm or your ankle or your leg, something about your jaw, it's just...
Yeah, that set me back. I was out of boxing for 4 months after that. Obviously training, but I couldn't fight. So it was a little setback, but obviously it was worth it.
Absolutely. Right, let's see what else is in here before I let you go. Reese Morel has asked, "George, are you going to sign me a fight poster this time? You can get it to me at the gym." I imagine that's someone you know.
One of my stable mates. Tell him absolutely for £5 though.
Good stuff.
Give him a discount.
Harv J has asked, can you ask George, is he ready for his next fight? Can't wait to see him demolish him. So that's
Absolutely. Ready to go. Stronger, fitter.
But take one more question before I let you go, and it is from Kira Smith, and she has asked, who were the boxers who inspired you growing up?
I'd say Muhammad Ali. I think he's inspired 90% of people out there to become a boxer. Sugar Ray Leonard, he's my idol in boxing. Funny enough, I went on the pads with him as well, which was mind-blowing.
Stop! Did you actually?
Yes, he came to Henry's gym for a dinner show and to talk about his life stories. And he was taking people on the pads, and I had the honour to go with him.
Oh.
And he gave me a hug afterwards, and he was very impressed, he said.
No, wait. I interviewed someone, I interviewed a fighter, and he was at that dinner, and he snuck gloves into his bag. And he wasn't allowed to, like, they were like, you can't get him to sign that, you know, we're not signing gloves. And he ran out. I think it was Joe Cordina. I think Joe, can you remember Joe Cordina being there? Yeah. When I interviewed Joe Cordina, he said that he stuffed, he could have been a different dinner, but he said he stuffed gloves in his bag. And then when he saw him leaving, getting into his car, he ran out and he was like, any chance you could sign these for me? And he was like, yeah, of course, yeah. I'm pretty sure, I think I remember it being Joe Cordina, yeah. But that's
I don't think he was at ours, but no, I don't think he was at that one.
Doing pads with him totally trumps getting a pair of gloves signed by him. That's unbelievable.
I was more stoked that he gave me a hug afterwards.
Yeah, okay, yeah, the hug, that's it.
I didn't wash that t-shirt ever.
Good stuff, that's brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
No worries, thanks for having me, Lydia.
No problem at all. That was great, and best of luck, best of skill in the next fight, 2.5 weeks out. Look forward to hearing the results, no doubt. Another win.
Make sure you watch.
I will, don't worry, I will be tuned in. I've been tuned into all of them. I'm like literally, any of my friends are like, are you coming out? I'm like, no, the boxing is on, and that is it. That is me. Yeah. Staying in. But yeah, look, no doubt I'll speak to you at some stage over the next couple of months anyway. So good to chat to you, and take it easy.
Thank you very much.
Okay, see you later. Bye.